U.S. Space Command continues to be treated like the Red Headed Stepchild of the U.S. Armed Forces. U.S. Space Command is about to be the preeminent and predominant armed force in the United States Armed Forces, and it still gets kicked around like a political football. This is out of Space News. Space Command Headquarters battle reignites. Representative Mike Rogers claims victory in long-running dispute over Space Command's home. This article goes into how Representative Mike Rogers, well, let's just bring it up. The years-long political tug-of-war over the permanent home of U.S. Space Command Headquarters has flared up again, with House Armed Services Committee Chairman Mike Rogers claiming the Trump administration is poised to reverse a Biden-era decision and relocate the command from Colorado Springs to Huntsville, Alabama. The headquartering of Space Command is vital, so that way we can get all of the infrastructure in place to do the job it has to do. Currently, it's in Colorado Springs, Colorado. There's been a Inspector General report, as you can see right here, Rogers seized on a newly released Department of Inspector General report that examined the convoluted history of the basing decision. And it is convoluted. It is very convoluted because it's treated like a political football, because it was given birth by the first Trump administration. And having been given birth by the Trump administration, the Biden administration didn't want to take it very seriously and treated it like a stepchild. This is going to be the most important, the preeminent armed force in the future. The high ground is no longer altitude. The high ground is space. The high ground is lunar orbit. This is out of the Inspector General's report. Background. On January 13th, 2021, the Secretary of the Air Force announced Redstone Arsenal in Huntsville, Alabama as the preferred location of U.S. Space Command's permanent headquarters, pending an environmental assessment. Although the Department of Air Force completed an assessment as of September 30, 2022, the Secretary of the Air Force never announced a final decision regarding the Space Command's permanent headquarters location. On July 31, 2023, the Department of Defense Secretary announced the President had decided, after consulting with Secretary of Defense and with the input of senior military leaders, that the U.S. Space Command's permanent headquarters would be at the site in the provisional headquarters in Colorado Springs. In December 2023, the DoD Office of Inspector General received a request from House Committee of the Armed Services to conduct an investigation on this decision and was formally tasked with the National Defense Authorization Act with fiscal year 2024. One of the issues specifically with the Colorado Springs site right now, and it goes into it in the report, is that Space Command is simply outgrowing it. They're outgrowing it quickly. So they need a permanent location that needs new infrastructure. Fresh. You're not reusing stuff. You need new stuff. So the decision on where to base them needs to be permanent and needs to be made immediately. You have stories such as this, and we did a video about this here on the Lemon Sour. China demonstrated satellite dogfighting, Space Force General says. When you have the Chinese up there performing dogfighting maneuvers with their satellites, you most assuredly need your armed force that is tasked with watching, evaluating, countering, and fighting that to be in place. This is what they did. A service spokesman later elaborated on Gluten's comments, saying the operation occurred in 2024 and involved 3 Xi'an 24C experimental satellites and 2 other Chinese experimental spacecraft. The 6 systems are believed to have signals intelligence mission. The exercise showcased the country's ability to perform complex maneuvers in orbit, referred to as rendezvous and proximity operations, which include not only navigating around other objects but also inspecting them. Gluten. Sorry, I know I'm butchering it. We're just going through it fast. Listed the satellite dogfighting demonstration alongside several other concerning activities from near-peer U.S. adversaries. This includes Russia's 2019 demonstration of nesting doll capability, where one satellite released a smaller spacecraft and then performed several stalking maneuvers near a U.S. satellite. You want to have your Space Force headquarters up and running to be able to watch that kind of thing. Now, all that information about the Space Force dogfighting, they are, and I'm going to cite it here. Said Tuesday that commercial systems had observed the dogfighting maneuver in low Earth orbit. That's cute. We appreciate the cover story. But what observed it was this, and I can pretty much prove it. The XB-37B returns to Earth. Space Force won't commit to buying more. On March 5th, this U.S. Space Force secret mini space shuttle, which we've had for years, was launched on December 28th, 2023. So while it was in orbit is when this took place, saying the operation occurred in 2024. So we can assume that the X-37 intently watched this operation, and that was their observation platform. Which, God willing, I hope so. And you need to have a headquarters where the analysts can take a look at the information from this platform that is ready to go to work. Ready to go to work. And you need the minds ready to do it. Which brings me to this, and I'm going to keep bringing this up. Two West Point grads thinks it's time for a military academy for cyberspace and robotics. We did a video on this here on the Lemon Sour channel about the need for the United States Space Force Academy to be formed. You have to have it. Elon Musk called it Starfleet Academy, which is fine. You can call it whatever you want. But a United States Space Force Academy at the Presidio. In the heart of Silicon Valley. In the heart of the innovation of technology and the forward-looking that we need to have in a Space Force. And the people we need guiding that Space Force. And I'm going to put every single one of these into the description for you. And it describes what a Space Force Academy would be, how it would form, its functions, and things it would do. Also, the XB-37 article, I'm going to put that in here because I think it proves the timeline that it was that cited the Chinese satellites doing dogfighting maneuvers, which all, in the end, emphasizes the need for a frickin' Space Force Command Center headquarters to be something of a top priority, damn near a national emergency. When you have Chinese spy satellites up there doing dogfighting maneuvers, they could take out any of our satellite systems, and where would we be? You have to have a Space Force that is ready to counter that. Whether that's in Huntsville, Alabama, or in Colorado Springs, Colorado, make the decision, start pouring the concrete. Let's get the bunkers built. Let's get the satellite communications in place. Let's make this happen. Let's make it happen. We're wasting time, valuable time we don't have. I hope you liked it. If you like this story, please hit the like button. Subscribe, share it with a friend, let them know. The United States needs to stop kicking the can down the road and treating the Space Force like a Red Headed Stepchild. We need a Space Force HQ. We need a Space Force Academy. We need a Space Force fully functional and operational. Thank you.